Pat, really appreciate your time, sir. 70 days on the job for you. You've been busy, you got to get moved in, a family, and then you got to rebuild an entire roster. So how would you describe what this process has been like for you? Because now it feels like it's more accelerated than ever.
Yeah, hectic, whirlwind. The last 70 days have been a bit crazy. But here this week, with all the players arriving for the first time, it's settled down a little bit. You're able to take a deep breath and focus on what you like to think you do best and what you love the most, and that's coach guys up and put your team together. So, but it's been awesome. We feel really, really good about, after the dust is all settled, the roster that we've been able to assemble and put together.
Now, you've released some statements regarding each guy, kind of describing your evaluation of them, but there's, of course, a difference between watching a guy on film and recruiting him in this day and age and then seeing them in person in the environment that you create. What stands out about this group in those first impression moments when they're coming in and you get to really meet them face-to-face for the first time?
Yeah, you know, I think a hallmark of this team and part of its true identity is the maturity of this team. We have a bunch of old heads. Right? We got a bunch of guys that
Right.
have logged a ton of minutes at the collegiate level, at a high level of college basketball, and not only have logged a bunch of minutes, but have won.
Yeah.
You know, they come from winning programs, programs with winning DNAs. And, you know, I think in today's day and age in college basketball, it's important to try to get old and stay old, as they like to say. But these guys are about what we're about. You know, it's a painstaking process. We're very, very thorough in our evaluation of not only from an X and O schematic analytic standpoint as to who fits in our system, but then also who fits on the things that you can't measure. You can measure height, you can measure quickness, you can measure your basketball shooting ability and things like that. But the guys that are about the things that we want our program about, and that's what the makeup of these guys are all about, what we want Louisville Cardinals to be about.
So once you get past that initial whirlwind of like, okay, I got a press conference where I got to knock this out of the park for this fan base, I immediately have to start recruiting as soon as I know I have the job. When you're looking at your roster outlook, that debate you just mentioned, it feels like it's kind of raging now in college basketball, where it's, do I want younger talent, maybe players with a higher potential ceiling, or do I want a more immediate proven option who's shown me that they've competed at a level, and you've coached in some of those leagues as well? Is that more important than ever now, is having, I don't want to say a certainty because nothing is a certainty, but you have more evidence to work with from a scouting perspective, I would say?
Well, I think it's important for your roster to have balance.
Okay.
Obviously, as we came in, you know, early in the spring, but we started off at essentially zero and had to build a roster from zero up to, you know, up to a complete college basketball roster. But I think as you move forward, it's good to have balance on your roster. You have a portion of guys that are younger that you're going to be able to build with for a couple of years. And, you know, we have that. We have two guys that are redshirting that we're crazy high on. You know, Kenai Ruths, obviously, is a very, very talented freshman. You know, Corn Johnson is a young man that, you know, is transferring after 2 years, so he has 2 more years here. And then we added, you know, several, you know, fourth-year transfers, older guys. So we like to think we have a good core that we're going to build with here over the next couple of years, and we added some older, veteran, proven guys. I think we have a really good balance right now.
I believe Ali Khalifa is going to redshirt, is that right?
Correct.
As well? Okay. Is the redshirt conversation a little different than maybe it's ever been in college athletics before?
Well, the two that we're redshirting right now is Kobe Rogers and Ali Khalifa, and both of those guys are having medical redshirts. They both have injuries that they're recovering from.
Yes, sir.
But you know, every situation, every player is different, and those type of decisions in terms of redshirts all depends on individual scenarios and situations. But in their case, they're both medical redshirts.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up to make sure. For you, I'm sure the first 70 days, like 70 days is a long time, but it probably felt like a blur, I would imagine, for you. Have you allowed yourself or taken a moment to kind of step back and get that, I don't know, the view from up top of what it is? You said this is the pinnacle of your career. You've had 70 days to experience what having a job at this magnitude is like. Do you have a different perspective on it now than even when you first come in and you got a million things to do?
What's the old saying that the days are long and the years go quick?
Sure.
You know, there were times over this past 70 days where those days were long and grind.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
But then when you look back on it, man, it looked like it went like a snap. But it is interesting, like, and I said this to somebody else earlier on another interview. I met Luke Hancock 2 days ago, came into the gym, and obviously MVP of a Final Four, national champion, beloved figure in Louisville basketball.
He's pretty good on camera, too. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable.
He's not bad at it.
Unbelievably talented guy. He has way better hair than I do. I'm like so jealous.
You can work on that. That's up to you.
But you know, Luke asked me a question. He goes, PK, what's the best thing you've experienced? Like, give me one thing.
Okay.
Since you became the head coach here. And I thought for a second. I just said, man, it's that almost daily moment where you can just get above the trees for a second, look around and go, I'm the head coach at the University of Louisville.
Yep.
How stinking cool is that? The hair stands up on your arms and you get the goosebumps, because it doesn't fall lightly on my shoulders, and I have a very, very, very good understanding of the significance of this position. This is, as I've said many times, this place drips with mystique and tradition. It's one of the most storied programs in the history of college basketball, with a group of former players and former player alumni that are special and have done so much to make the Louisville name one of the most respected in all of college basketball. And holy cow, does that drive me and motivate me to make those guys proud.
The former players are a group who are vocal about this program, how much they care about it. They're going to tell you what they like, they're going to tell you what they don't like, because they helped build this into what it currently is and the tradition that so many fans expect. I don't know how many of them you've gotten to meet with from the various eras of Louisville basketball, but in those meetings, what do you take away from them if they offer, you know, even if it's just a crumb of like, hey, you know, this is kind of what has been missing from the program, this is what I want to see from it, if you could share any of that.
Yeah, you know, I think my relationship with, it's hard to meet every one of them.
Of course,
on day one, month two. But one thing of significance that I think we did that's going to be very beneficial on the move forward in being a conduit, right, or bridging between me and those former players is Peyton Siva.
Yeah.
You know, Peyton is one of the hires that we made on the staff from, when I say the outside, it's just the gentleman that came with me from Charleston. And gosh, is he a special person. Obviously, he's one of the most beloved figures in the history of Louisville basketball.
He's got some playing to do this summer, too. Like, you know, TBT, it's there.
Is he playing TBT?
Is he playing or no?
Peyton?
Yeah, he should be
really?
playing. Yeah, he's playing.
No wonder he was in the weight room yesterday. I saw him working out finally. I didn't know you worked out. But Peyton is infectious personality, right?
Okay.
I mean, he's got a great heart. He's got a great energy about him. He's respected by all the former players. He has so many relationships, not only with the basketball alumni, but in the city of Louisville as well. And people say all the time, well, did you hire him because of that bridge and that connection? I said, I mean, that's a byproduct, but the biggest reason I hired him is he blew me away when I interviewed him.
Okay.
You know, he's just smart.
Well,
dynamic.
What in that interview, like, really impressed you? Because clearly the playing credentials speak for themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
he's beloved here, but when you get him one-on-one and you're looking like, okay, you want to be a coach, like, what jumps out?
Yeah, I mean, he's crazy. He's wicked smart,
okay.
Right? He's got great high character, dynamic personality, great communicator, phenomenal with relationships, and principled, hardworking.
Yeah.
All the things that you want in a high-level staff member.
And you're a former point guard. He's a former point guard. I'm not accusing bias here, but I feel like former point guards kind of look out for each other a little bit. Yeah, they see eye to eye a little bit more.
I think combined we scored like 2,800 career points.
How many were you?
I think I was 170 or something. So, no, it's, you know, point guards kind of have that, you know, you kind of have that, I don't know what the word is, that telepathy, right? You have that bond.
Well, because you're a coach on the floor, right?
He's a coach on the floor, you're quarterback.
Yeah,
you know,
all the cliches of it.
Chucky Hepburn, who's a young man coming from Wisconsin's a great example of that. I use the analogy all the time, or the saying. Yeah. You give him the ball at 2 PM, he gives it back to you safe and sound at 4. You know, that's what the best point guards do.
So you have an entire new team. I think if we tried to break down each guy, it's impossible to do all of that. Is there a couple of guys that you know coming in that you have to lean on for early leadership? Like, I look at, you know, Rain Smith as a guy who's played for you. He knows your system. He knows the culture. I would imagine he will probably be an early leader for you to help bring guys along. He at least told me that he views a role like that for himself. The rest of these guys are brand new, but clearly they've played a lot of ball elsewhere. Do you have higher expectations for anyone in particular?
Man, that's a great question, but as I told you earlier when you asked me one of those early questions, and I just talked about the hallmark of this team is the maturity.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And all of these guys that have come from the programs that we're at were leaders where they were at, right? And even though on day one walking in, you don't know exactly the protocol, you don't know exactly the terminology, but you know, carrying yourself and acting and working like a pro is a universal language.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
The way these guys have just come in and gotten after it and been sponges, right? They've been vulnerable, they've been open. They, you know, it's been great these first few days.
You mentioned the word or the phrase like training like a pro, and I can't help but, and we kind of, everybody talks about this now as we try to figure out what the landscape of college athletics is going to look like. And I think there is a group who would argue that it's, you know, it's professionalizing in a way. It's particularly with what was just passed with the NCAA. How do you feel about some of the recent developments, since we haven't gotten to talk to you since that decision came down for revenue sharing? Just what is your first reaction or view of that when you saw it?
Well, I just think college sports and collegiate basketball, college sports in general continue to change and evolve at a rocket's pace.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We keep using the term seismic shift. This is one of the most seismic shifts in the history of our industry. Change is inevitable in every industry, and when change happens, no matter the industry, no matter the business you're in, you better be ready and willing to adjust.
Yeah.
And I think that's the focus in our program. It's being quick on our feet and being able to adjust and adapt because change is coming, and change is coming really, really fast.
Yeah.
But it's embracing it, it's running toward it, and it's being able to operate, be successful, win, and operate in this changing landscape.
So Josh Hurd talked to our Eric Crawford recently about this topic, and I loved one quote he had saying it's basically like trying to fly an airplane while you're building it. And I was like, yeah, you know what, the way things are changing, I mean, me and you sitting here right now, there could have been something that just changed and we don't even know about it yet. Mm-hmm. We can check our phones for a sec, but I'd rather not. The way he phrased that, when you're the head coach at Louisville and you've spoken to this, you have a huge impact on the athletic department. This program has a huge impact on the athletic department. So if you're trying to help him or tell him, maybe we should fly this way, hey, here's a part to help figure this out, what is that for you?
What do you mean?
In terms of like, when you look at what is coming down the line, if he leaned on you for advice or asked you like, hey, this is a way we need to try and go, what do you think that would be?
Well, I first of all, I'm lucky to work for an athletic director like Josh, who is extremely forward-thinking, mm-hmm. very, very innovative. Yeah. Right? Extremely adaptable. He was made for these changing times. Okay. He's smart as heck. Like I said, forward-thinking, sure. Unbelievably supportive, and you know, like me, ready to adapt, is running toward change. So couldn't work for a better leader. Dr. Schatzel, man, you talk about, she's awesome. Okay. She's awesome. I've been in higher ed for a long time, and I've never met a president like Dr. Schatzel.
What about her stands out to you?
Well, I love the fact that, you know, she's an entrepreneur. She has a business background. She looks at things from a business perspective, but she's fiery, right? She's dynamic. Right. She's an unbelievable leader. Mm-hmm. She hits you between the eyes with truth and with honesty. We had her meet with, you know, she's busy as heck, but she's taken time out of her schedule to meet with a couple recruits, and I nicknamed her the closer. you know, and the manager in baseball walks out and they tap for the left-hander.
Like
I don't know if she's right. Yeah, like we might have to get her an entrance song.
Enter Sandman's Taken.
But the leadership here is remarkable, and obviously my direct report is my athletic director, the guy in the trenches with me every day. But then to have the caliber of leadership we have from President Chatzel is elite and special as well, especially in these changing times. She talked about the business industry and the things that she was a part of, and these major shifts in the auto industry and the auto parts industry, and how you're able to adapt quickly and position yourself to be able to take advantage is very, very important.
You mentioned being that forward-thinking approach, and during the interview process, I'm sure every athletic director has a list of things they're looking to hear, they want to hear, and you're looking for things that you know you have to emphasize in your preparation. How quickly were you trying to formulate an NIL attack plan, if you will, to recruit guys? Like, where was that when you're talking to Josh for that first time? Like, hey, this is what I think we should do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I obviously in the interview process in today's day and age, that's going to be an important part of it. And I think what Josh did was he did his homework and his due diligence, and at a different level, at the mid-major level, what we were able to do to implement a very, very effective NIL strategy at a school like Charleston at a mid-major level. And I think we positioned ourselves, you know, to be one of the best in the country at the mid-major level. And we ran toward it there, you know, when the shift was happening and the change was happening. So I think he knew and saw that, you know, I was the type of coach that was going to embrace it. You know, there's been a lot of coaches that have been around for years and years and years and years, and when all this happened, they're like, man, this isn't what I signed up for. I'm going in the other direction. I got too much time left, man. I got to feed my kids. I'm going to be in this business for a couple more decades, maybe more, unless you try to get rid of me before that. But hopefully I don't let you do that.
No, man, no, not at all, not at all. Going off of that, first of all, I have no say in something like that, but the results here are ultimately what matter, and what I like about the interviews you have done is that you have embraced that from the jump, really, from the news conference, where it's like, I know fans here, and I know how much they care, what they want, and that basketball means something different here. The expectation of that, and what does that mean to you to be held to that
The way I always say it is, look, man, I can put myself in the shoes of Louisville basketball fans.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because I'm a fan of the Cincinnati Reds and Bengals, and I am completely irrational. I just am.
I hate to tell you this. I'm a Ravens fan.
I'm sorry to hear
4 years old, but you know,
so I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
You're gonna have to talk to Lamar at some point, I would imagine.
Oh my God. There's something on social media, and he like added me after we did that football thing. I was like, hold on, Lamar Jackson actually added me. I was starstruck at that moment. But no, I get it. You want to be somewhere where it truly, truly, truly matters. You don't want to be somewhere where there's apathy.
Yeah.
And you just feel it, man. When you go out into this community, you feel the passion that people have for Louisville basketball. I do a pretty good job, I think, as a leader. It's just my approach of obviously being connected in social media by tweeting and marketing my program and things like that. I'm not reading your comments.
Yeah.
I'm just not. Because when things are really good, you're going to have some great comments. When things are bad, they're not going to be as great. That's part of being a fan, man. And I'm not saying I put stuff about Zach Taylor or David Bell for the Reds. I kind of have a little bit of there's an honor among thieves with coaches that you know, we understand what we all go through and things like that. But man, this is such a passionate fan base and knowledgeable fan base. I say all the time, I have over 1 million assistant coaches out there. And just so you know, I'm not going to take a lot of their counsel, but I get it. So I embrace it, man. You just feel it when you go out in the community, whether I'm pumping gas or I'm at a restaurant. You get a high five, coach, man, we're so excited. And then you get a suggestion or two about guarding the pick and roll. And that's part of the deal, man.
All right, well, we'll save some Ravens-Bengals trash talk for another time when it comes around, but appreciate your time.
Who day?
No, you're not giving me all that.